For the first time in days, crews are able to attack the Hermit's Peak and Calf Canyon fires again from the air. As you can see this effort behind me right now, a Chinook helicopter is coming down to a body of water to pick up water to drop on some of those active fire zones just miles away. Jess, people in San Ysidro tell me they're doing everything they can to protect their property. Everything from laying down sandbags to building up dirt mounds to keep the waters back. But as you can see here behind me, this river flooding is already impacting huge areas. According to the Rio Grande Compact, even when the river is running really great, like it is behind me right now, New Mexicans are only entitled to less than half of it. Most of it we owe to Texas. This may not look like much right now, but this will be a place where homeless veterans can get back on their feet. But the Kirtland Community Association says while they're on board with the idea of what's happening here, they don't want this facility in their neighborhood. Democrats hold a majority of 45 to 25 in the House and 27 to 15 in the Senate. But today, both sides saying they're ready to work together. Dean, around 9 last night, police say a family was leaving Isotopes Park when they headed down this road and may have cut someone off. Police say the suspects made a U-turn here and then gunned them down. Psilocybin is currently a Schedule I drug in the Federal Controlled Substances Act. The FDA recently deemed it a breakthrough therapy. Whoever stole the motorized cart from this Sprouts over here somehow made it across 4 lanes of central traffic, but they didn't get far after that. From getting rid of early release Wednesdays to later start times for high school students, school leaders outlined for lawmakers changes to their calendars that'll add weeks to the school year for some. It'll be the 8th zoo lab like it in the nation, and it'll mean test results for these guys much sooner.
News 13's Natalie Wadas explains how it would work.
Jessica, amendments to this bill mostly extended the timeline for caseworkers to deal with these sensitive cases.
Good evening. Tonight we're hearing from the family of the victim of a deadly car crash who was sitting in his living room when another man drove right into his house. News 13's Natalie Wadas spoke with family members who are grieving his loss tonight. She's live from Malin Avenue in Northeast Albuquerque. Natalie?
Dean, the Peterson family has lived in this home behind me for nearly a decade. The wife of Brian Peterson tells me she never imagined something like this could happen to them. Exposed pipes, fiberglass, and other debris litter what is left of the Peterson family's living room. What is it like for you seeing it right now?
It's heartbreaking. I'm hurt that my mother-in-law has to see her house that she worked for forever to turn into a chaotic mess. This is something that you see only on the news. This is something you see after hurricanes, earthquakes.
Jean Peterson, wife of 74-year-old Brian Peterson, says she was sitting in the other room as a man came barreling down the street and crashed into their garage Thursday afternoon.
I was sitting here. I don't remember if I was watching what I was doing, but anyway, I heard a horrendous crash and I went out. I thought something had fallen in the kitchen.
She says she could barely comprehend the scene in front of her when she stepped into the living room.
And I went out and the first thing I saw was all the debris and I couldn't imagine. And then I looked over and I saw our car in the living room and I still couldn't figure out what in the world had happened.
Jean says it sounded like an explosion.
And I thought, did we forget to turn the engine off? How could a car come into my house? And then that's when I realized there was another car there.
The car that had crashed into their garage had pushed their own car into their living room, where Jean realized her husband of 52 years, Brian, had been sitting in his favorite reclining chair.
I tried to speak to him, but I couldn't really understand what he was saying. I think he was wanting me to call our son-in-law to come and help.
He was pinned under their car against the wall. After that, Jean called 911.
When emergency services came, they had to cut through the wall to pull him out.
He was taken to UNMH, but just before 2 p.m., he died from his injuries.
He was a retired pastor. He was kind. He would never intentionally hurt anybody.
My father-in-law was an amazing man to my daughter, and I will only remember him as the perfect grandparent. He was a loving soul. He cared about everybody. He would go down the road if you needed help to help you.
Brian was a man of strong faith in the Lord, and he would want his grandchildren, his children, and anyone else that he was impacting to know that he is in heaven and he's whole and he's at peace.
While the family is left to grieve, they have a message for the community.
It's a statistic, but it's a person and it's a family. And it's going to take a long time to get over it. Please, 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 think before you get behind the wheel. Think about what you're doing to families, to people.
Call someone for help.
Call for help, yes.
Brian Peterson leaves behind a wife, 4 children, and 10 grandchildren. Back to you.
All right, Natalie, thank you. The driver accused of causing that deadly crash is in custody tonight. Police say 32-year-old Mark Costello had taken meth, opioids, and marijuana before plowing into that garage. A criminal complaint states he also smelled of alcohol and failed field sobriety tests. A preschooler with a disability has a new way to get around thanks to a team of high school students and their creativity. News 13's Natalie Wadas has that story.
Pink is my favorite color, and I give it a big thumbs up.
This is Adriel, a 5-year-old preschooler in Rio Rancho who loves the color pink.
I have everything pink in my house. Pink fish, pink everything.
Her mother Iris says one day Adriel wants to be a doctor. But for now, she's focused on playing with her friends at Shining Stars Preschool, which her mom says can be a challenge since she was born with a condition that affects her leg movement.
She's not able to walk. She could walk a little bit with the assistance of a walker or pulling herself. She's in a wheelchair, and like the playground equipment sometimes might be a little bit hard to access for her.
To give Adriel better access to playing with her friends, some high school students across town were hard at work.
This project's part of a dual credit class actually with UNM as well. So we do, it's called E4 USA. It's a national pilot to get engineering in K-12 education.
Aaron Buck, an engineering teacher at Sandia Prep, a college prep school in Albuquerque, says they've partnered with the preschool for the last few years on similar projects.
So the teachers gave us, say, here's Adriel, here's this bike that she can't use, how are we going to put it together?
After 2 months of designing and building, the students came up with a tricycle that Adriel could pedal without using her legs.
Adriel, you're awesome. Like a regular bike.
I was super excited with her. The first reaction was excitement due to the fact that it was pink, and that's her absolutely favorite color.
You can tell because I have everything pink.
And we had to hold back the tears because we were super excited just to see how excited she was. So this bike, it means a great deal to us that she's able to have the ability to ride the bike along with all the other children.
As far as Adriel's thoughts on the new tricycle,
I would like to say I love it.
Natalie Wadas, KRQE News 13.
What a cutie. Adriel's parents say she gets to take her new tricycle with her to kindergarten.
Since the monsoon season started in mid-June, up to a foot of rain has fallen in the burn scar near Rosiata.
Families there are desperate for help as flooding causes severe damage almost every day. News 13's Natalie Wadas visited one man's property today.
That's the one sign first that you can hear is the water rushing. It gets pretty loud. Every time we get rain, it basically floods.
Del Rey Trujillo lives on this property with his girlfriend and 2 children in Rosiata. This home has been in his girlfriend's family for decades, and he says none of them have ever seen flooding like this.
July 4th was the first flooding that we've had.
Trujillo says once it rains, in about 20 to 30 minutes, this whole field is saturated with water, 3 to 5 feet in some cases, he tells me.
There's a wall of water from there to like there, like that just, It's just wicked.
Trujillo says the floodwaters have damaged 3 cars on the property, washed away a propane tank and a shed, flooded the house, and have forced him to replace his well pump 3 times since July, costing him thousands in damage and counting.
We got the tractor and we got dirt, and we laid a wall here of dirt that was about 4 or 5 feet high, and the current of the floods just washed it out like nothing.
That's scary. Do you ever fear for your own life, your own safety?
Yeah, it does get scary sometimes, you know, it does get scary sometimes, you know, and especially with my kids, you know, I have my kids with me, so, you know.
How old are they?
I have one 7-year-old and I have one 19-year-old. And as if you could look on the side of the house here, you can actually see where the water levels actually came up.
Trujillo says leaving isn't an option for them.
I've been in contact with like the governor's office, state representatives, the county emergency management team, and everybody was supposed to, you know, even come and deliver me sandbags, and I've never seen one face at all.
Roger Montoya, a state representative for the area, says the federal help on the ground has been hit or miss in recent weeks.
We will try to have the county trucks moving and clearing the roadways, managing debris to the best that we can, and deploying sandbags. But I'll tell you what, the crews are thin, they are tired, and they are devastated.
Natalie Wadas, KRQE News 13.